I get asked all the time, Peter, why is Zoho so cheap? If it's cheap, it must suck. Huh? Logic. I'm so smart. That's not what they actually say, but that's kind of what it feels like. It's that textbook thing, right? Hey, that shirt only costs $8. That's how much this shirt costs. That shirt must suck. Well, you guys can see this shirt. This shirt doesn't suck, right? Price does not mean quality. Price is just indicative of what a company thinks they can charge and get away with charging. So in the following few videos, skip them if you don't care. But if you would like a little bit of a look at why Zoho's able to charge what they charge, the following few videos will break it down. Hopefully at the end of it, you will feel like you're not just getting taken for a ride by some crappy software company. You'll understand that there are a lot of good reasons why Zoho can be so inexpensive and super quality. All right. If you are related to Mark Benioff or any executives at Salesforce, you may want to skip this video. I will not be super kind to them. Good people like their product. They build a good product. But I want to kind of show you an example of how the market leader, one of Zoho's biggest competitors, prioritizes their spending. So we look at this is totally available financials. You can go look at them. I'll link to them above. Salesforce's financials. We're just looking at fiscal year 2019. And Salesforce had total revenues of a little over 17 billion. And let's go and talk about the idea of research and development costs. So this is the amount of money that Salesforce is investing back into their product in order to make it work better for you, the customer, give you more features, and just overall have a better product. 2.7 billion, a big number. But let's take a quick look at what percentage that is of their total revenue. Okay, 16.1%. So 16 cents on every dollar that Salesforce makes go back into improving Salesforce. So now let's take a quick look. We'll do some back of the napkin math and see selling and marketing expense, $7.9 billion. So of this 17 billion, almost 8 billion of that is going towards sales and marketing. That back of the napkin math, about 45% of every dollar, 45 cents on every dollar that Salesforce is making is going not to improving their product at all, but to trying to hound you into paying for it. That's totally fine. This is a capitalistic society. Love that Salesforce is free to do that. It's very smart. They're a market leader. And again, their product, it's bad. But Zoho, on the other hand, I'll link to this article. They're a private company. They don't have public financials, so I can't give you exact numbers. But they self-report that they put 60% of their revenue. They're about $1 billion annually in revenue. They put about 60% of their revenue back into R&D. So almost 3.5 times as much as Salesforce is spending on R&D, Zoho's putting in. Another number they self-reported. This I don't have anywhere. They mentioned it at one of their user conferences. They say that they get outspent 20-1 by Salesforce on marketing and sales. That's one of the number one reasons why Zoho can afford to be so inexpensive. They are not paying to be on every airport tunnel wall and have Super Bowl ads and have a massive sales team that's just hounding every single vertical. Zoho spends the majority of every dollar they earn on reinvesting in improving their products. Again, Salesforce is free to operate how they'd like, and a lot of people have been very successful working with Salesforce, so I don't want to demean the product, but that's one major reason why you're paying more for Salesforce than Zoho. It's not necessarily product quality. It's that Salesforce has to pay an army of salespeople and marketers. And let's just talk real fast. I mean, we'll talk about this in the next video. Salesforce has a massive skyscraper, the tallest skyscraper in San Francisco. We'll talk about how that affects things in the next video. Let's talk about the difference between two buildings. And again, don't want to demean Salesforce, love them to death, just useful in points of comparison. This is Zoho CEO Sridhar Vembu. He's standing in front of the office in Tenkasi, Tamil Nadu province, India. This is where Zoho Desk was developed, and Zoho has some other support staff and development teams in this highly quickly growing office. Tenkasi is not a remote village, but I wouldn't even call it a village. I haven't been there personally, but I've talked to people who have. We're talking 60 to 80,000 folks, decently rural. It's in the southwest part of the Tamil Nadu province, close to Sri Lanka. Really beautiful area. And Zoho actually has successfully handled a lot of their development out of this office. Salesforce, on the other hand, this is Salesforce Tower. It's the tallest skyscraper in San Francisco. You can see it on a map right here, really close to the Bay Bridge, and really beautiful spot. I've been here as well. Really, really beautiful spot. Salesforce done a lot of good in San Francisco. Great company. I'm just wanting to kind of show a counterpoint again for understanding why Salesforce might cost a little more than Zoho. San Francisco is absolutely one of the most expensive places in the entire planet Earth, especially to hire and retain development talent, especially in a downtown massive skyscraper. Zoho, on the other hand, has pivoted a little bit more towards having a remote, training up a remote rural development team that can build world-class products, but can do it a lot cheaper. We'll talk a little bit in the next video about what that actually looks like, what Zoho developers do, how long they stay at the company. But it's just a different approach, I'd say, to kind of typical American software development. And it's absolutely a way that Zoho is able to save money, right? Rents, real estate costs, hiring and retaining talent. It's just astronomically cheaper to handle it in places that aren't the Bay Area. One's near and dear to my heart. Go check out this link. This is to the Zoho Schools of Learning. This is a really interesting way that Zoho attracts and retains talent for a long time. They actually, within India, especially in rural India in the Tamil Nadu province, they recruit workers directly out of high school. And rather than workers paying for college, Zoho actually pays them a stipend to come study at the Zoho school, and learn enough about Zoho to be able to actually pretty quickly get a job there within a couple of years. What does this mean? Well, it means that they have kind of a ready built pipeline for talent. B, it means that they spend a lot less than bigger companies spend on attracting talent. I don't have numbers off the top of my head or from a filing of what Salesforce is spending to attract talent, but I'm going to say that it's safe to assume that Salesforce is spending more on developers within the Bay Area in San Francisco than Zoho is spending on attracting and kind of training from the ground up this homegrown pool of students who have become Zoho employees for the long term. I met a few Zoho employees at the last Zoholics that have been there for almost 20 years, that have been developing with Zoho for a long time. And so that's it's a cheaper way to find talent, right? It's a cheaper way to get the staff that's going to build your products for the long term. And it's a really interesting strategy, again, that they pass those cost savings on to you. Zoho, the product, is primarily developed in India. If you think that this by rule means that Zoho is a low quality product, then you are kind of ignorant. At least your opinion is ignorant. That's a pretty dumb take. Just because something is made in America, software products made in America, doesn't mean it's necessarily better than something made elsewhere in the world. I don't want to pretend like Zoho is world class and beats every other product in America, but you need to kind of look at each app on a case by case basis, compare it with its competitors, and see whether it works right for you and your organization. Okay, this one, I don't want to get too Wall Streety on you. Ignore this if you don't care about macroeconomic reasons why Zoho is more inexpensive than its competitors. But we're back at Salesforce's balance sheet. This is all publicly available information, and you can see Salesforce's gross profit has been increasing, total revenue been increasing. They're definitely a really solid bet in the stock market. That's not professional advice. I'm very poor and very bad at stock market investing. But here's a really important thing to note. Salesforce has legions of bloodthirsty shareholders who I shouldn't say bloodthirsty. Again, I'm being too pejorative. Profit thirsty shareholders. These are shareholders whose personal wealth increases to the degree that Salesforce stock price increases in value. So you better believe that there is immense pressure on Salesforce day by day by day to squeeze more and more and more revenue out of each and every sale. You know that if they slashed their prices, that there'd be a howl, an outcry from their shareholders saying, "Hey, we're now less rich. You have less profit. The company is doing less well." So that pressure, it's very, very typical in these software companies to bit by bit invest less and less and less in research and development, and more and more and more in establishing their market share through acquisitions, sales, and marketing. And that's just something that you're going to get the cost passed down to you as the end customer. That's something that Zoho kind of really, really consciously tries to avoid. They do not want to be acquired. I will link to a couple articles about that. They do not want to be acquired. They do not want to go public. Their real mission is to just create good software that people like, and they will charge whatever they think is fair for that software, rather than being subject to the whims of profit thirsty shareholders. Probably sick of this at this point. You're like, "Peter, just shut up. We get it. Zoho is just the greatest thing ever, and everyone else is Satan." No, I really like, again, really, really like American software companies. I really, really like software as a service, as a business. I have a lot of friends that work in that space. It's not wrong, but I'm really trying to debunk this idea that Zoho's low cost and the fact that it's developed in India means that it's low quality or not as good. So final thing we'll talk about. This is, if you're in corporate finance, feel free to shut me down and tell me that I'm dumb. But here's an example of Salesforce spending $15.7 billion to buy Tableau. Tableau is a dashboarding and analytics data visualization platform, kind of, I shouldn't say similar to Zoho Analytics. Zoho Analytics is more similar to Tableau. Tableau is kind of the market leader. Salesforce bought it for almost $16 billion. Zoho, on the other hand, has just internally developed Zoho Analytics over the last 20 years. And it's become a really, really solid product, can compete with Tableau in a lot of different ways. So what's the difference, right? Salesforce wanted to make a splash, gobble up market share, show their shareholders that they're dominant, and find new ways to make more money in the long term. Zoho, on the other hand, just kind of quietly developed a really powerful product that can compete with Tableau. I don't know the exact sticker price of what developing Zoho Analytics has cost Zoho. I'm 100% positive that it's less than $15.7 billion. I mean, it is drastically less. I would be extremely surprised if total R&D costs for Zoho Analytics were more than even 100 million lifetime. So who is footing the bill for that $15.7 billion acquisition? It's not Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce. He is not personally ponying up that 15.7. Ultimately, the consumer is paying for a deal like this. The consumer ends up having to foot the bill for this entire deal. You pay for it in your licenses of Salesforce, and again, that's fine, but that is even further proof that Zoho's lack of exorbitant price, that it's so inexpensive. It's not because it's low quality. It's because they, among other reasons, they are not spending billions of dollars in acquiring other companies. They don't have expenses like that. They quietly invest a ton of money into R&D to build products rather than acquiring them. So again, I'll shut up. You get it at this point, but one more thing to think about. Hopefully by this point, I have evangelized you a little bit into understanding why Zoho does what they do. You may be just as enamored with them as a company as I am. You may still be skeptical. Hopefully I can convince you that really they march to a different beat. They care about different things than most of their competitors do. They are not there to squeeze every last penny out of their customers in the name of shareholder value. Zoho really just cares about software development, making a product that people like. They're also really passionate about employing. They have some really, really cool initiatives for rural career development in rural India. They're looking to expand that to the United States as well. They're a fascinating company. Great case study for any business school, or really interesting for anyone who kind of likes this subject. So if you care about all of that, feel free to shoot me an email. I'd love to talk about it. I can talk all day. My wife wants me to shut up about Zoho at this point. If you don't care about that and more just care about, hey, is this company good to do business with? Is their software product super cheap because it sucks? No. Hopefully this series of videos can convince you that no, there's a lot of other really good reasons why Zoho is both high quality and very inexpensive.